here on Pop Cult Parent. It's a spooky night with dangerous turns and stories and conjurings, but we're black, so we don't fuck with that. But welcome. Take a seat, sit down, and get ready for the haunting hour here on Pop Cult Parent, where we discuss the new smash hit Lovecraft Country. Ooh.
I, I I hate you. I hate you so much.
Your host, one of your hosts, Clyde Bones. Ooh.
I am. Oh, okay. Get it together. I am Nils RY, aka Blackula.
All right. And I am Shannon Smith, aka y'all better leave that magic alone.
And tonight, I'm not going to talk like that the whole episode, but we are going to talk about the new show Lovecraft Country on HBO. Fair warning, let's get out in the open. This is going to be a spoiler-filled episode. We are going to spoil everything in season 1. So if you have not seen Lovecraft Country, this is your first and final warning. Stop this, go watch it, come back, and join the cult. All right, cool. All right, so I mean, fellas, I guess we're just gonna get right into this, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to share a little bit of the history before we jump in and talk about the dopeness that is Lovecraft Country. So Lovecraft Country, the HBO Max series or HBO series that's also on HBO Max, is based off of a 2016 novel by Matt Ruff. For the most part, like the novel in itself is like captured in the show. There are some subtle changes that, funny enough, Atticus like says in the show, like, "Oh yeah, I got this book, and this is a little bit different than what we actually going through." So neither here nor there.
Good Atticus there. I love you. You really a little bit different than the last time I read.
Appreciate it, brother.
Ain't that right,
I've
Letty?
been practicing.
Ain't that right?
Ain't that right, Letty?
I got to go. It needs my blood. Anyways, the show was written, directed, led for the most part by Misha Green, who killed it. We want to give all the flowers, all the love to Misha Green. You may know her. She helped create Underground, that was on WGN. I didn't watch it like that, but I heard it was a dope show. She's also a Heroes alum. The Heroes, the TV show that was on NBC. And this was also executive produced by Jordan Peele. And what is that brother's name from Bad Robot? J.J. Abrams. Thank you. So yeah, it was a 10 episode. I don't know if this is going to just be like a short series, like Watchmen. But yeah, it happened. 10 episodes. It got a lot of love, and yeah, excited to talk to y'all about it. Also gotta also name a couple of people. We have some amazing actors and actresses in this show. So just naming Jonathan Majors, I don't know this dude. Like, I'm like, yo, who are you? But we are about to know him forever because he's about to be in all the things because that brother can act. But Jonathan Majors played Atticus. Then, of course, we all know Journey Smollett. If you watched Eve Bayou, then you know who she is. You've known her your entire life. But she's also been in several other things, including she was Black Canary in the Harley Quinn movie that nobody saw.
I think she was on. She had a little run on Full House.
Yeah,
she was on Full House.
I remember that.
And then, dog, it wasn't Cousin Skeeter, but I feel like she was on one of those like 90s Nickelodeon shows. But I can't put my finger on which one.
It was not Cousin Skeeter, I can tell you that.
Because that was Megan Good, right?
That was Megan Good, yep. Yeah. But yeah, she's been around for a minute. And then, of course, we got one of the GOATs, Courtney B. Vance. Very upset that the man only lasted a couple episodes. I was fully expecting for him to be all the way there. So I felt some type of way. I'm like, oh, well, he'll be back the next episode. And then I waited the next episode. And then I waited the next episode. I digress. Courtney B. Vance, and several other actors and actresses. But I also just shout out Michael Williams because I'm sure there's some The Wire fans, and they will feel some type of way if I don't mention that brother's name. So
can we also mention for a second? So Jiha, I believe Jiha, that was
Succubus.
Yeah, the Succubus. She also played Chi Chi in Dragon Ball Evolution, the movie. So, and I know that's a personal favorite. I know that's a personal favorite of everyone out there listening.
Yo, I was like, where do I know this girl from? And it was bugging me since that episode. And I was like, I can't believe that she was in that terrible movie. I can't.
Yeah, I know it's everyone's favorite out there. I just wanted to throw it out there. But nah, yeah.
God. Well, I'm glad she's here because I don't think anyone made it out of that movie alive.
Nah, she's the only one.
Can before we get into it, can I ask y'all like what's just like your general impressions of like the show so far, and like what were you expecting, and versus what we got, and just your overall view of the show?
Yeah. So I'll say my first thing. So this kept coming to mind when I started watching it a couple episodes in. So I don't know if everybody remembers that skit from the Chappelle show where like Arsenio Hall was at this cheese party and he got really upset because nobody told him. Like they told him
the cheese was so good.
Yeah. Like they told him the cheese was good, but they didn't tell him that cheese was that good. Like that's how I felt. I was really mad at all of my like Facebook friends and stuff. It's like y'all said this was good, but y'all didn't personally say, "Hey Shannon, you need to watch this." So I was upset. I was like, "Why didn't y'all tell me how good this was?" So, but yeah. So that's how I felt. It was. I heard it was good. I started watching it, and I was like, "Yo, this is great." Like, like for me, the history, like how they throw the history in there, the whole magic sci-fi piece, and then also just like that sort of family story of togetherness and everything. I was like, that's a hard combination to pull off, and I loved it. Those are my impressions. It was wild. Loved it.
Yeah, I mean, very similar. We talked about this on the podcast. I love good horror, like horror with a story. And like at certain points, you forget that this is a horror show. Like it's just like super good acting, compelling story, talks about like history, family dynamics, and like how like family is not like necessarily like just blood. It could be more than that. It could be like about like who you trust and who you love. Like the concept of the show is all about family. But then all of a sudden, like a giant 8-ball demon comes from the ground and starts biting people's faces off, and you're like, oh yes, this is a horror show. Like how silly of me to forget that there's some scary stuff going on this show. So like just fantastic. I'm here for it.
Nah, I'm with y'all 100%. Like, I was sold off the first trailer I saw, the HBO trailer. Nels, we had this discussion, when we had the streaming wars conversation, and I believe if we go back, I think I said I thought HBO would win the streaming wars. I don't know if that's correct. Because apparently their numbers, the HBO Max numbers, have been horrible. But I tell you what, man, if I had to pick one service to keep out of all of mine, I'd probably keep HBO because they keep coming with the dramas, and like they keep knocking it out the park. But when I saw that trailer and I saw J.J. Abrams and Jordan Peele, I was like, all right, all right, tell me when to be there. You know, like I was like, all right, just tell me when to be there and I'll tune in. But this show, like, now as you hit it, like we I'm also like, I love good horror, and we had this discussion before, like, just because something's gory doesn't mean it's good horror. um
Yep.
this show gives me so many like vibes of when I was a kid. Like, I would sneak up at night to watch Tales from the Crypt, and I feel like if this show was back, yeah, if this show came out in the early '90s, little like 8-year-old Mark would be doing the same thing. I'd be sneaking up at night to watch Lovecraft Country. Um, Before we get into it, I just want to say this show, like, it sold me on the first episode because I thought we were going to do something where we were going to do this kind of study on racism and how it's almost like racism is horror, right? Because
Yeah.
the stuff with the cops, like that scene where the cop is chasing them down out of the sundown town, it plays like a horror movie, right? So
Yes, it does.
this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do like racism, and the monsters are like people. I was like, okay, I'm with it. And then the monsters show up, and I was like, oh, so there's okay, we're doing this. Like I was just blown away by the first episode. We'll get into it, but like I need more of like this in my life. More, you don't see black people in horror like this, man. You don't. Like, unfortunately, I feel like horror always happens to us, figuratively and literally. But like in horror movies, we're always like we're always the people like, oh, that's crazy. I don't know about this. Like we're always like telling the main character what we think about the craziness that's going on, right?
That's wild. That dog did this and that and the
Yeah,
third.
yeah.
What would be
Multiple
me?
times, and we
Yeah.
kick Michael Myers in the face at the end of the movie. But like, it's just refreshing to see like black people.
People aren't going to get that H2O reference.
I'm glad you picked
Shout
that
out
up.
to Busta Rhymes.
But it's just good. It's refreshing to see traditional, like genuinely like creepy old school horror drama with a black cast.
Yeah. No, that was something that stood out to me. Like they leaned into it. Like they really leaned into the magic and the and the horror and things. Because I feel like when it first happened, they were like, "Yo, this is wild! Like we being chased, we running." And then I feel like by episode 2 or something, they're like, "All right, magic exists. Let's lean into it. Let's lean into it." And I was like, I was so surprised at how they just just went with it. I was like, "All right."
No, Shane, I agree with you. Go ahead, Nels.
But I gotta say though, to your original point, Mark, even when we saw giant demon dogs with like 35 eyes, even when we saw random dismembered spirits come through, we saw a goat get cut on the neck and blood spew out. Anyways, well, I will stop talking about all the things we saw. Even when we saw all of that stuff, still some of the scariest things were just regular white people. Regular white people doing regular white stuff was just as scary as like some of those zombies. Like when you see the cops roll up at any point, it gives you the same shudder as like seeing like a zombie in the other side of the room. So that just goes to show you like they did it. They did it right.
So go back to your point, Shannon, real quick. Yeah, that's what I loved about it, man. Like you said, they just leaned into it. They're like, "Oh, magic's real. Well, I guess we better get this spell." And like everyone commits. Like even Tix Dad Montrose, who I think in a typical horror movie, like, this shit ain't real. Why y'all messing with this? He's like, "Oh, we gotta get this spell. We gotta go get this man."
But he's leaning hard on that juice though. He's like, "Oh, magic's real. Go. All right, I guess we gotta go do this, that, and the thing." That's like he's not in a comfortable spot.
He's like, "Oh, damn, more magic."
At some point, he was drinking some like, what wasn't even moonshine. It was like some random thing that he saw there. He was like, I'm gonna drink this because we gotta go back in time.
No, I'm not gonna lie, man. If I knew if we were chilling and then all of a sudden monsters and magic was real, I'd be like, yeah, I need a drink. I need a drink right now.
Yeah. It was. I'm sure it was definitely like 87 unleaded. Like that's what he was drinking. Like it was just.
But Nels, you made a good point, man. And this show really opened my eyes on a lot of things. Like, dog, like you said, like it's just like white people back then just doing what they could do because they could get away with it, played like a horror movie. Like the fact that George runs, because it kind of hit. I was like, wait a minute, what does he do? He runs a safe travel company for black people. And I was like, wait a minute, what does he do? So you got to think about this, like listeners, like this man would travel the country and mark on maps where it was safe for black people to travel, because if you did not follow that route, you could end up dead. And like that's just crazy to think about. Like that was someone's job, dog. Like I don't know if you guys heard of like hobo code, kind of like there's like apparently there's like marks on places like hobos leave and they're like, oh, this is a friendly place, you could sleep here or whatever. But like someone in episode 2, there's a segment that says like pioneering isn't easy. And it's like, yeah, this man had to travel the country. People really did this and be like, okay, it's safe for you to get here. It's safe to be here. If you go in here, you better just keep driving. And like to a degree, we still do that. I went to school in Morgantown, West Virginia for a little bit, and there was parts of like pretty much after Hagerstown, Maryland, where like I was like, I'm not stopping until I get to like this point, you know? And that's another, when we talk about like white privilege, like that's it. That's it. You could just exist and don't have to worry about all these other factors that could like kill you, you know?
Yeah, it was wild because that was the real Green Book. Like, you know, of course there was the movie that exists, you know, Green, but I was like, that was actually the Green Book, or it was, you know, it was like a reference to that historically, which was, yeah, just the wildest thing. Like, you know, the safe hotels you could stay at, you know, restaurants you could actually eat in and they would have to serve you or whatever. And, you know, even from, I think it was in episode 1, like one of my favorite parts, you know, they thought they were marketing it as a safe restaurant. And then, you know, till Letty came out, she's like, y'all better get your asses up. Get that was like my favorite part. They were just like, and took off.
Get your shit.
No. How she's like, y'all got to get your asses up. We got to go. And they're like, yep, we got to go.
Yeah, you know what's so great about that scene? Because like Tick and George, they were like, "What's going on? Huh?" They just got up and went.
Yeah.
And I forgot what the line was, but I cracked up when Letty was driving and George was like trying to like side seat driver. She's like, "You don't shut the hell up right now."
Yeah, man.
You know what the craziest thing about what we like the Green Book and all that stuff and the traveling? Yeah, there was like 2 primary settings in this show, Chicago and like New England, and it was that scary for black folks. Imagine if they drove to the South. That's like the one time we hear about them driving to, besides like, you know, the time machine. The one time they drove, like someone goes to the South, it's Emmett Till. Like the person comes back and it's Emmett Till. So it's like what we're seeing is like surface level of how it went down back in the day. And like just imagine how much worse it was in the South. That was the craziest thing for me to think about.
Man, it's nuts. Like I remember, you know, as a kid in school and if we talked about the Civil War, I remember everyone would be like, "Oh, if that was me, I wouldn't have done that." There were a bunch of like, I went to school with a bunch of Rileys. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh nah, man, I would have done that. I would have tell Master to go kiss his ass. You know, like, oh, I would have ran for freedom. But like, I remember being like, I don't know what I would have done. Like, I don't know what I would have done. I don't like. I think we all like to think of ourselves as the hero, but like, just existing back then, just going to work some places. Some of the small things. That's why like Rosa Parks is a hero, because just something so small, just standing up for just like your own respect and rights as a human being could end you up dead or in jail. And it's like it took a lot. It took a lot to stand up to that.
All right. So, first question, who is your favorite character in the show? I know this is a tough question because they're all dope and they're all dope in their own ways. But y'all know I like to be annoying sometimes when it comes to segments like this. So that is my question that I'll start you all off with. Who, if you had to pick, is your favorite character in the show?
Oh, you want to go, Shannon?
Yeah, I'll go. This is actually a game time decision, just from that. So I'm gonna say this because of her story, because of what she ended up doing, and her, sort of her devoted episode. I love Tick and Letty, but I'm gonna say Hippolyta. Or is it Hippolyta or Hippolyta?
Hippo, Hippolyta.
Okay. Okay,
It's
Hippolyta.
funny, Shannon, when you said both names, it sounded exactly the same to me.
Yeah.
So I was gonna be like, yep. I thought you just stuttered, but you said two different names.
Yeah. But nah, so I'm gonna say Hippolyta because man, like I think when it comes to her episode and that sort of story of, she went all through time and all of that stuff, becoming this warrior, doing this and that. Like her story was so deep to where one, we're just like, okay, she's so and so's I think what, Diana, Dee, just like, okay, she's Dee's mom, she's George's wife. And honestly, she had that whole sort of piece where they were like, you can be whoever you want to be, whoever you are. And so at one point she was like, I am Hippolyta. And we're like, okay, cool. George's wife, Hippolyta. And it's like, you still chose to be like, sort of tied into that sense of, oh, I'm so-and-so's wife, I'm so-and-so's mom. And then even after that, she finally really stepped into herself and said, no, I am Hippolyta. Like that's it. Like I am me. I'm not beholden to a person. And that's when she really leaned into just like how powerful and everything she was. And I think one of the things I loved about it, that conversation they had with her and George when it was sort of questionable. It's like, is this real? Is this not? Because I thought you were dead. But they had the conversation of, this whole time I felt like I knew I could be amazing. I could be even more. I love you. But I was shrinking. I was shrinking just to be with you, like not achieving all I knew I could achieve because I wanted to stay with you and everything. And even though he wanted her to be as great as she could be, that was just one of my favorite things about the character, just to go through that whole sort of transformation, that realization of like, I can love you all, but I can be as big as I need to be and take up as much space as I need. And then of course she had her like cybernetic powers and things or whatnot. But yeah, so I'll say I think
just tossed in a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
yeah, toss that in too.
By the way,
yeah,
she became a cyborg.
Yeah.
Shannon, to like that's a great choice, man. And like to touch on that episode, there was one thing she said I think it was real powerful that in that episode when she said she wanted to go back to her Earth. She said, but like she's like that Hippolyta was so small, and like you said, she just grew so much. But I love that episode because I was like, yo, they went full Rick and Morty with this.
Hitting it.
Like full Rick and Morty.
Yeah, it was. That's why I was like, yeah, that one just seems so different and odd because it was like you going to space, you going through time,
yeah,
all of this type of stuff. So, but then it's like, oh, but it fits and it makes sense with the story. Like it was just so out there.
But I gotta say, Shannon, to the that scene when she was talking to George was so powerful. Like her like talking about shrinking, cause like how many times is that the story in relationships, right? Like we preach about how there needs to be some equity in relationships and like how we treat each other, how we support each other. But oftentimes it is because we live in a patriarchy, for those relationships that is like partners of different sexes, then like it is often the woman that is sacrificing for the man to rise. And so like for her to like name that and name how she felt, and for George to react and admit like, I knew you were shrinking, and I knew like that's not what I like. I didn't fall in love with you to see you shrink, but like I saw myself rise. It is like it was powerful because like they were able to be open and honest about it, but it's also powerful like these aren't just white folks talking, like these black folks talking, and like George admitted that he was like playing into the patriarchy, and like it affected his queen, and so like I'm so appreciative that we were able to see that be played out in media, so then that conversation can like be played out in real life.
One thing I don't have y'all seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Nah,
Like,
I haven't.
30 years ago.
So spoilers, but at the end of that, you know the guy, he leaves Earth, and Steven
jazz
Spielberg.
band.
Yeah. Steven Spielberg said
With the jazz. All right, I was gonna tell Shannon like part of the reason I said that is because the space they communicate through music, the aliens. So it's like like they sound like they're playing like a jingle for a channel back in like the early 90s.
But
That's funny.
but the father leaves at the end of that, right? The father of the family leaves, and Spielberg in recent history has said that he wished he would have done it different because he wouldn't have the father abandon his family. And I think it also has something that episode says, like, when you become a parent, when you become a family, it's like it's this balance where you gotta be true to yourself, but like you've dedicated yourself to someone else. Like she basically became like an interstellar demigod, you know?
hmm
And when she chose to go back for the sake of her daughter, and like I don't know, I thought that was pretty powerful. Like she's like you, the Beyonce lady, whoever it was she was talking to, she's
hmm
like, you could be whoever you want to be and all that. And she's like looking around. She's like, but my daughter needs me, you know. And like it was like this is great, but I got to go where I'm needed. And I think that also says something about Black women consistently are going where they're needed in their community and doing what they're needed for the community.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There was.
Can you imagine that power to just name who you are, who you want to be, and like get to live it? She did that for 200 Earth years. Just like experience that.
Yeah, bro. When she, I forgot the episode. I think it's episode 9 where she shows up and she's like, "Yes, I've been gone for 200 Earth years." Like,
they're like, you can't make that. Like that thing is broken. She's like, look. I've been gone for 200 Earth years. I can do whatever I want. I named who I am. I was this. Yes, I got electronics in my arm. Like, shut the hell up. We going to Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think another piece that sort of hits, sort of coming from that as well is like, her daughter, which I'm sure we'll get into that maybe a little later, but her daughter, it even sort of shows how even as kids we might not understand, like what our parents are doing, because like she did all of that, and she's like, I gave it, I essentially gave it all up. I came back to you, and the kid was still like, you should have came back sooner. Like, like something like that. So it's like, even then, like, I feel like we don't as youth maybe notice how much our parents have either sacrificed or what, what they've done. We're still sort of like, oh, why didn't you do this thing? Maybe even why didn't you show up to my game, or you came to the game late, not realizing, the parents like, hey, the car messed up, this and that. I got it fixed. I still got here by the third quarter, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know what, Shannon? That's funny. I was listening to interview with one of the writers of the show, and she said a big thing they did on this show was they talked about like sacrifice and generational sacrifice, and how it it's it's not that it's not noble. Sometimes it's not what's needed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I remember. I don't know if y'all ever seen. There's this famous like clip um from Oprah's show back in the day where it has like a bunch of moms, and they were saying how they like sacrificed so much they sacrificed their happiness for their families, blah blah blah. And then Oprah asked all the daughters and sons, or I think it was daughters, I think it was mother and daughters. She asked like, were y'all happy with the sacrifices, or would you one of your mom to be happy? And all of them raised their hands and said, I would rather my mom been happy. And so she was talking about the whole show is kind of about generational sacrifices, parental sacrifices, and how, and especially in the Black culture, we do that a lot in our families. And not that it's not for the better good, because it is for sometimes, but sometimes it needs to be more than just that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true. So Mark, who was your favorite character?
Man, I thought about this, dude. So I will say I relate more to Tick. I feel like young Tick was kind of like probably how I was when I was young. Like, yo, can y'all just let me do what I like? Can you just let me read this book that I like? Can you let me just watch this show that I like? Like, who cares what I like? But I think, man, my favorite character, it comes down. I think it's Montrose, and then Ruby is a very close second. But I think Montrose is my favorite character, dude, because like his story is just so dope. It's I love a character that I can yell at, that I can hate, but then like I understand why they are who they are. I may not agree with the decisions they've done in the show or in the story, but like you see so much of Tick or Montrose in Tick. They have the same kind of anger, and then just that whole you know what I'm saying? And then that whole dynamic of like Tick, you could tell Tick loves his dad, but he doesn't like his dad. You know, he loves Montrose, but he really doesn't like Montrose. But he honors his father, but he just doesn't understand why he was always like whooping his ass and always on his case. And when you get to see Montrose's backstory and you get to see like who Montrose is, and they delve into his sexuality and stuff, one with this like Michael K. Williams, I've never seen him in a role like this.
That dude has range, yo. Like he can act his butt off. Goodness great. Anyway, sorry. Please continue.
No, dog, I've never seen him act like this. Like Montrose is like, he's a powerful dude. He's a strong man. He stands up for what he wants, but he's like so vulnerable at the same time, and he's so broken at the same time. And like, this is one thing I love about this show. These episodes could be shows in themselves. The Hippolaya episode, that could have been a show. That could have been like the Adventures of Hippolaya.
Yeah.
30 26. Like
and that would be fire. I would love that show.
Yeah.
and then Montrose's whole like backstory and who he is could be a show. Like I said, I relate to Tick, but every time Montrose it took me time to warm up to him. When they first rescued him, I was like, I don't like this dude. I really don't like this dude. And I'm mad that George is gone and you're still here. But like after seeing the show and thinking about things, like I just really love Montrose's story.
Yeah, his story, I mean, man, it was compelling after compelling after compelling. Like, cause like it really paints a picture of like who he was, what he had to experience, what he had to sacrifice. Like that man went through a lot. And like you aren't supposed to like him because he beat up Tick. Like Tick went to join a war because of how bad of a father Montrose was. But like what they did was like really paint the picture of generational curses. But it also was like powerfully like showing like what a parent had to sacrifice. Like this man had to sacrifice who he was for like his entire life, and we finally get to see him accept who he was, but like also like express it at the same time. And like, man, that was a powerful moment. Like it was a little corny, like him being lifted in the air like Dirty Dancing. It was a little corny, but damn it, it was adorable. I was happy for him.
Yeah, the one part. I think this is one of the realest moments in the show where Tick discovers Montrose's sexuality. He finds out his father's gay, and and he's like he drops the F-bomb on him, and then, like,
don't you call me out my name.
No, yeah. And he takes off his shirt. He's like, I still your damn daddy. Bruh, like
so real.
Dog, that is such a parent. Like, dog, let your child call you out on one of your insecurities or one of your mistakes. Like you like, yeah, well, I'm still young.
Ain't nothing gonna change that. Which like spoiler, like you might not be though. Like you might not be his dad.
Yes. But that blew me too, because I think this show is trying to talk about families, traditional family, nuclear families, and what does that mean? But like Montrose said, he didn't care. Tick is his son.
Mm-hmm.
That's his son. Like he's like, I don't care if you're George's son, you're my kid. Like, and that meant a lot to him. And then we'll get into it, but like, man, the Tulsa scene, and like the fact that Montrose is from Tulsa and he survived that, and like what that must do to your psyche.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that, and then after that, that kind of like dynamic him, George, and I forget her name, but Tick's mom had, where it's like, yeah, she knew, but like when you go through something like that, like it makes you deeper than like, it's like it's deeper than that.
Romance, yeah.
So
like they were a family because they were the only family they had left.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, man, Michael K. Williams, like he needs to keep stretching his range because he definitely has it.
Mm-hmm.
So, my favorite character was Letty, mostly because like Letty was a superhero. Like Letty was the hero of this show. In almost every situation, Letty is the reason that they got out from the other side. Like she was going through it, y'all. Like if you imagine, like half the series, she was pregnant. She was pregnant doing like all this stuff. She got thrown off of a building, landed. I'm sure she died again. It came back, cast a spell to defeat the villain, and I'm sure at some point she had to have the baby. So like, yo, she a real one. She bought a house, had like to fight with the demons to beat the other white demon. Like, I'm like, yo, Letty, at like the acting Olympics that Smollett had to do, like props to you, because like I'm like at one point, I think one show she was like she got shot and then got beat up and had to like run away from like a demon dog in the middle of the night, and then like 2 episodes later she was like underwater to like go grab a scroll. I'm like, yes, the character was doing that, but like someone had to act and do that at the same time, like run in the middle of the dark and like go into water. I'm like, man, I hope you got paid, Smollett, because like that wasn't no easy feat. But like, yeah, I liked Letty because she was the hero of the show. And she got to like save the day countless times, like almost every episode. she said or did something to save the day.
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, and to mention that too, like you're saying, all the stuff she had to do, like the swimming, the running through the woods, and this and that. Like they have stunt doubles, but it's like we saw your face straight up as you were doing that, so you were doing that. Like that wasn't just a stunt double. That was So she got, I mean, the range, the athleticism, like all of that, killing.
Dog, I want to know what Journey Smollett's 40 is, because like there's 2 episodes where she was like, I'm like, I bet she got a nice 40. The episode 1 where she's running through the woods, and then the Tulsa episode where she's running from those guys. She's booking it, and she got a clean stride.
Like Skechers. Booking it.
She got that Forrest Gump form.
Yes. Yes. It's probably like 4'6", 4'5".
Against win.
No, we have a mutual friend that I won't call him out on the podcast, but you know who it is. He really he thinks Journey Smollett's very attractive, and I was like, well, buddy, there's an episode for you where her and Dick have about 7 sex scenes in a row, dog.
Yeah. Good old HBO. And like, yo, I'm sure the writer was like, yeah, so you're gonna end up pregnant, and we're gonna let the audience know that like you should have ended up pregnant. Like all that sex that y'all were having.
There's no doubt who the daddy is.
Yeah. Hey everyone, this episode's running a little bit long, so we're gonna actually break this into a second part. We have so much fun and great stuff to talk about in regards to Lovecraft Country, so we are going to release the second part later on. But thank you all for listening. We try to have a new episode every month. You can find us on all social media at Pop Cult Parent, POPCULTPARENT. Email us at popcultparent@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate us, review, and subscribe. And of course, as always, join the cult. Peace.